believe that Turkey is acting more and more as a revisionist power. Lately, Turkey makes use of military force without any hesitation as a tool to impose its foreign policy goals. It has proven this in recent years with multiple military operations and occupations of territories in Syria and Iraq, while its military forces are also operating in Libya, regardless of Berlin Conference decisions. We must also not forget the presence of 30,000 Turkish troops in Cyprus, but also in a number of other countries like Qatar and Somalia. Moreover, in the context of the new thematic agenda of the Turkish president, Turkey is involved in a number of international conflicts, such as in the Gulf, in the Caucasus, while lately it seeks to play a role in Lebanon. It supports Hamas as part of a wider agenda which includes working with extremist groups in Syria, arms and sends Syrian mercenaries to fight in Libya. It welcomes members of the Muslim Brotherhood. It is therefore obvious that the geopolitical objectives of Turkey are no longer limited to the Greek-Turkish relationship or simply in the Eastern Mediterranean region. They demonstrate that Turkey is a major destabilizing factor in the wider area. This should be an issue of concern for the EU and the international community. The Eastern Mediterranean is our vital geostrategic importance. It has a vital geostrategic importance for the EU for several aspects, not only economy, but security, energy, migration, transport, tourism, to name a few. EU should urgently assume its role in the region. What is at stake is European sovereignty and EU strategic autonomy. De-escalation must come immediately, and it must come from those who are causing the tension. All of the Turkish vessels, both military and survey vessels, must withdraw immediately, given that their presence constitutes a violation of sovereign rights that must cease at once.
Türkiye, Türkiye'den büyüktür. Bunu böyle bilin. Yani biz 780 bin kilometre kareye hapsolamayız. Çünkü bizim fiziki sınırlarımız başkadır, gönül sınırlarımız bambaşkadır. Musul'daki, Kerkük'teki, Haseke'deki, Halep'teki, Humus'taki, Mısrata'daki, Üsküp'teki, Kırım'daki, Kafkasya'daki kardeşlerimiz fiziki sınırlarımız dışında olabilir. Ama hepsi gönül sınırlarımızın içindedir, kalbimizin tam ortasındadır. Devlet ve millet tarihimizi 90 yılla sınırlandırmaya kalkanlara izin vermeyeceğiz. İlk öğretimden itibaren, ki bunu artık anaokulları diyoruz, itibaren ders kitaplarının bu çerçevede yeniden gözden geçirilmesi dahil milletimizi tarihiyle, kültürüyle, medeniyetiyle buluşturacak her türlü adımı
Kudüs, Sayın Trump, Müslümanların kırmızı çizgisidir. Filistin halkının yaraları kanamaya devam ederken, her gün hak ihlalleri, zulümler, baskılar sürerken, İsrail'e destek mahiyetinde böyle bir kararın alınması sadece uluslararası hukukun ihlali değil, aynı zamanda insanlık vicdanına da vurulmuş ağır bir darbedir. Amerika bütün işleri bitirdi de şimdi bu mu kaldı? Yağışla da işi bitirdi, bu mu kaldı? Şu anda Netanyahu, İsrail'de kendi içinde iç hesaplaşmalarını bitiremiyor. Ve biz kesinlikle son ana kadar buradaki mücadelemizi kararlılıkla sürdüreceğiz. Kaldı ki bu bizim diplomatik ilişkilerimizi İsrail'le koparmaya kadar da gidebilir.
Turkish President Recep Erdogan recently gave a very revealing speech that the mainstream media basically ignored. According to the Middle East Media Research Institute, Erdogan said, in part, there is no power that can stand in the way of this country, Turkey. We say to our enemies, bring it on. We will not hesitate to sacrifice martyrs and wounded people in this fight. Can those who oppose us in the Mediterranean Sea and around it accept the risk of the same sacrifices? He went on to say, do the people of Greece accept what will happen to them because of their greedy and incompetent leaders? Do the people of France accept the price they will pay because of their greedy and incompetent leaders? Now, these are direct threats coming from the leader of a NATO member nation against other NATO member nations. So what's really going on here? Middle East strategic analyst Avi Melamed joined us from Israel to break it down. Take a look.
Here is something interesting about Erdogan. Erdogan is a bully, but he's a very sophisticated politician, and he actually changed dramatically Turkey within less than 2 decades. Erdogan is inspired, I would even say obsessed, with a vision of reviving the glorious day of the Turkish Ottoman Empire. And he is leading a hegemonic vision. He is actually focusing in simultaneously in couple arenas, in some arenas. One of them, for example, is the eastern basin of the Mediterranean and the central part of the Mediterranean. It centers around the story of the huge gas reservoir in the eastern basin of the Mediterranean. Erdogan would like to be the one who called the shot. Now, the issue is that there are other regional players like Israel, like Egypt, like Greece, like Cyprus, who has interest in those gas fields. And basically what we see today is that Erdogan is on a collision track or a friction track with those players that I mentioned before around the story of the gas. But that's not the only collision track that he is on. Erdogan, as you may know, Eric, is also involved in the war in Libya. There is a civil war in Libya going on for the last couple of years, and Erdogan is involved directly in the war in Syria, meaning he sent to Syria thousands of Syrian and non-Syrian jihadists from the north part of Syria who are actually controlled and monitored by Erdogan. He sent them to fight in Libya and supporting other Muslim Brotherhood militias in Libya. Erdogan's involvement in Libya fuels a growing tension with Egypt because Erdogan and Egypt are on a serious collision track. Egypt, as well as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, are definitely not happy, to say the least, with Erdogan's hegemonic vision, and they are trying to blocking and thwart it. There was a period of time, a couple of weeks ago, that things between Egypt and Turkey escalated to the point Egypt army was in a higher alert because Egypt basically said that as far as it's concerned, Libya is a red line for Egypt. Now, the growing tension in the eastern basin of the Mediterranean because of Erdogan's ambitions and proactive aggression resulted in stepping in a quite untypical way, I would say, stepping in of France and Italy that basically are sending very strong signals to Erdogan saying, back off, enough is enough. A couple of days ago, there has been a joint military drill of France, Greece, Cyprus, Egypt, including live ammunition, live fire. That was a very clear signal to Erdogan.
There is no due process now in Turkey. We have a dictator. We have a sultan. His name is Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
Harold Rode, the former head of the Turkish desk in the Pentagon, says Erdogan has ambitious goals.
And his goal is to basically bring back Islam as the ruling identity of the entire Islamic world. His way, his Sunni particular way, it's my way or the highway. and then to take the entire Muslim world and to advance Islam to take over the entire world. Erdogan, it seems to me, would like to be that caliph of the entire Muslim world and eventually the entire world.
Erdogan once said, democracy is like a streetcar. You ride it until you get to your destination. As a NATO member, Turkey's coup response and Erdogan's consolidation of power are setting off alarms in the West.
Erdogan has used that coup as an opportunity to destroy any remnants of democracy in Turkey. People are petrified. He has arrested over 50,000 people. He has given an order that any Turkish academic abroad must return home. If I were a Turkish academic in the United States or in Europe, I'd right away be asking for asylum.
A new report finds Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan is hosting leaders of terror group Hamas in his country to plot attacks against the Jewish state. Here's One America's Christian Rose with more.
An Israeli lawmaker is asking the US to slap sanctions on Turkey yet again, after a new report found Ankara may be harboring Islamic terror group Hamas. On Wednesday, member of the Likud party Nir Barkat wrote a letter to US Ambassador David Friedman saying Hamas is plotting his assassination from inside Turkey. Earlier this week, British newspaper The Telegraph found Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan is hosting the terror group's leaders in Turkey.
We believe that they have probably a few dozen operatives based in Istanbul, but they include some senior figures. Saleh al-Aruri, who is the global #2 of Hamas, the most senior figure outside of Gaza.
According to Israeli intelligence, Hamas has a base of operations in Istanbul, which it uses to plan and direct attacks on Jerusalem and the West Bank. Israeli authorities say a previous attempt to assassinate Barkat, who is the former Jerusalem mayor, was undertaken out of Istanbul as well. These reports put into question the role of Turkey in NATO amid the already rife tensions and pose a challenge to America's policy ensuring the security of Israel.
The other day, I heard President Erdogan attacks Israel, and I want to say to him, you that brutally oppress the Turkish people, slaughter the Kurdish minority, and support the terror organization Hamas, you are the last one that can lecture Israel.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Thursday implied that Jerusalem belongs to Turkey, referring to the Ottoman Empire's control over the city for much of the modern era. In the city that we had to leave in tears during the First World War, it is still possible to come across traces of the Ottoman resistance. So Jerusalem is our city, a city from us, he told Turkish lawmakers during a major policy speech in Ankara. Our first Qibla, direction of prayer in Islam, Al-Aqsa and the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem are the symbolic mosques of our faith. In addition, this city is home to the holy places of Christianity and Judaism. The Ottoman Empire ruled over Jerusalem from 1516 to 1917. Modern Turkey, its successor state, has long stressed its enduring connection to the Holy City, regularly condemning Israel's alleged efforts to Judaize it and the U.S. administration's December 2017 recognition of it as Israel's capital. Jerusalem has been the capital of Israel since the country's founding, and the Jewish people have thousands of years of history in the city, backed up by extensive archaeological finds. During a lengthy speech at the opening of the Turkish parliament's new legislative session, Erdogan spent several minutes lamenting the fate of Jerusalem and the Palestinians' plight. Another crisis that our country and our nation carefully follow is the oppression of Israel against the Palestinians and the indifferent practices that disregard the privacy of Jerusalem, he said toward the end of his address. The issue of Jerusalem is not an ordinary geopolitical problem for us. First of all, the current physical appearance of the old city, which is heart of Jerusalem, was built by Suleiman the Magnificent, with its walls, bazaar, and many buildings. Our ancestors showed their respect for centuries by keeping this city in high esteem. The Palestinian people have been living in Jerusalem for thousands of years, but they were occupied and had their rights violated, the Turkish leader went on. He went on to vow to pay close attention to the Palestinian issue. We consider it an honor on behalf of our country and nation to express the rights of the oppressed Palestinian people on every platform, with whom we have lived for centuries, he said. With this understanding, We will follow both the Palestinian cause, which is the bleeding wound of the global conscience, and the Jerusalem case to the end.
We believe that Erdogan's decision to go into Syria puts our allies at risk. We believe that the rise of ISIS is imminent if this continues. So to the average American, what does this matter to you? I think it matters a lot that ISIS cannot reemerge. The caliphate's destroyed, but they're alive and well in terms of a ground component, 15 to 20,000 fighters. And without the Kurds, they're going to come back. And if we abandon the Kurds, good luck to get anybody to help you in the future.
And that we will fight to make sure ISIS does not get more oxygen and come back. They have been down, but they are not out. And this action that's been taken gives them an opportunity to come back, and we cannot allow that to happen. That is the result of the decisions that have been made in the Turkish aggression. I just want to hold up a headline that tells you what the problem is here. It's right here. Turkish-backed forces are freeing Islamic State prisoners. Turkish-backed forces are freeing Islamic State prisoners.
Since 2014, a lot has been happening in the Middle East, not at least Syria and Iraq. With the advancement of the Islamic State, many rumors have been circulating, one of them being about the political stand that Turkey has with the Islamic State. Now, in this video, we're going to look at all facts available from the beginning to present day to finally check if Turkey is supporting ISIS or not. On the top right corner of the screen, you will see a number which represents how many sources we've been going through. Remember that this video is going in a chronological order, so be sure to check to the end of the video as the most confirmable hints are being showed in different parts of the video. Time of research. I've collected a lot of information from reading books and articles on the internet, watching videos and interviews, and finally I feel secure enough to make a conclusion. But first of all, let me present everything to you. First, let's go through some background facts. This is Turkey. Here it lives around 80 million people. About 25 million of them are Kurds. In history, they faced a lot of persecution by the Turkish state. In 1978, PKK was found in Turkish-occupied Kurdistan, and in 1984 a war broke out between Turkey and the PKK, a war which still is ongoing until this present day. With the Syrian civil war, a more unknown organization took control over Kurdish areas in northern Syria. The political name of the organization was PYD and the military name YPG, and within time they would come into war with the Islamic State. The area that YPG was controlling made Turkey their neighbor, and Turkey saw that YPG was building their society on the political ideas of Abdullah Öcalan, the leader of PKK. Because of the connection between YPG and PKK, Turkey declared the Society of Rojava as their main enemy. Now, my research starts in 2014 during the Islamic State siege of Kobani, a city located on the border between Turkish-occupied Kurdistan and Syrian-occupied Kurdistan. Even though Turkey hadn't involved themselves into the fighting yet, the first accusations of cooperations between Turkey and the Islamic State came from the YPG. At this time, it was only smaller talks between the groups, a rumor which didn't get to any big headlines in media. However, the first time it did was when the Kurdish party HDP accused the Turkish state of cooperation. In a statement to the Telegraph, HDP said, "As we've been pointing out for months, this once more proves that Islamic State is being supported from within Turkey." Here is two articles. The first from the Telegraph, where the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights is claiming that the bomber of ISIS came from the Turkish border. In the second article, we have a spokesperson for the YPG claiming the very same thing. Here he says, "So far 15 of this group were killed. 3 of them managed to escape to Turkey. There are still some elements hiding inside the city." Note here the part where he says 3 of them managed to escape to Turkey. According to the journalist Patrick Cockburn, there is strong evidence for a degree of collaboration between the Turkish intelligence service and ISIS, although the exact nature of the relationship remains cloudy. Looking at the conflicts of Kobani, advancing ISIS forces came from all ways, west, south and east, while Kurdish civilians and Kurdish forces were trapped, surrounded by ISIS all around them and Turkey in the north. The civilians of Kobani didn't have any other choice but to try flee to Turkey. However, they were denied access. The civilians were now trapped. The question is, would Turkey deny them access if they weren't Kurds? The ironic thing here is that Turkey just stood along the border with its military in a row, watching the war between ISIS and the Kurdish troops. If Turkey so much hates terrorism, why didn't they act against both YPG and the Islamic State? Why did they just stand there and watch civilians die, and also didn't even take the responsibility to save the civilians by letting them into the country? Now, while YPG were fighting for the people in Kobani, world started to notice that Turkey just stood by there at the border, doing nothing except blocking civilians from safety. But there is actually 2 questions to ask here. Firstly, is the passivity from Turkey due to the fact that Turkey doesn't like Kurds? Or is it because Turkey supports ISIS? Maybe both reasons. Even though many closed their eyes for the reality here, some still did their job to highlight it. For example, this article from Newsweek, who also wrote about this in 2014, claiming an interview with an ISIS soldier who clearly said that ISIS sees Turkey as its ally. And it didn't stop there, since many Islamic State soldiers has witnessed about the support from Turkey. Even from American official sources, a Turkish ally, an anonymous source, claimed that the rumors now were undeniable. Soon enough, even clear photos and videos were published. International Business Times published these photos in October 2014, showing ISIS fighters chatting peacefully with Turkish soldiers. And I mean, it didn't really help Turkey to deny Kurdish volunteers to fight ISIS from accessing to Syria, while hundreds of Islamic State fighters were free to go through the borders. It was almost like Turkey wanted the world to know about their relationship with ISIS. More and more people started to react on these rumors on Twitter and Facebook. Oliver North, an American ex-Marine, were one of those who tweeted about this. He published a picture of terrorists alongside a Turkish soldier and ironically called the meeting too friendly. While the YPG kept on fighting bravely against ISIS in Kobani, ISIS kept on getting casualties, and new confirming rumors of wounded ISIS fighters treated in Turkish hospitals were back again. Looking at the sources, the articles are not subjective at all. The sources are different: Russian, American, Israeli, Kurdish, British, exactly sources from everywhere, except of Turkish sources. Turkey became known as the gateway of jihad, and it was Mail Online which first spread this name, claiming that Turkish border guards were turning a blind eye for as little as $10 US.
I ran the ISIS campaign. 40,000 foreign fighters, jihadis from 110 countries around the world, all came into Syria to fight in that war, and they all came through Turkey. The caliphate was on the border of Turkey. We worked with Turkey. I was in Turkey more than any other country to have them seal their border, and they would not do it. They said they couldn't do it, but the minute the Kurds took parts of the border, it's totally sealed with a wall.
Turkey reported that between the years of 1957 and 1998, Turkish forces laid 615,419 anti-personnel mines alongside the Syrian border to prevent illegal border crossings. Looking at the recent years, the same mines are killing Kurdish people running from ISIS near Kobani. Turkey are required under the Mine Ban Treaty to destroy all anti-personnel mines, but has missed deadlines several times. This according to Human Rights Watch, who claims that Turkey on purpose didn't remove their mines. The rumors just kept on coming. It was soon exposed how Turkey were buying ISIS oil in the black market. ISIS were under their reign the richest terror organization in the world. Only counting Turkey's help, it is estimated that ISIS got $800 million into their hands. And of course, we all know that large amount of money plays a huge role in what ISIS could achieve or not. Even Iraqi security guards arrested several tanks of oil driven by Turkish drivers, and after hearing and interrogations, it was exposed that these trucks were transporting oil from one ISIS controlling city to another, meaning that ISIS used Turkish citizens to more easily transport its oil with false flag. This article from Russian Times tells us about 24-year-old Mahmoud Ghazi Tatar, a former Islamic State soldier now captured, telling the Sputnik News about the following. At a training camp in May 2015, our commander told us that the group sells fuel to Turkey. That income covers Islamic State's costs. British media also reported about this. Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi were criticizing Turkey for its ISIS-friendly appearance. Shortly afterwards, Iraqi Prime Minister said there is no evidence that Turkey wants to fight ISIS. The saying, "Action speaks louder than words," is a perfect example of what has been going on between Turkey and their supposed offensive against the Islamic State. For years now, that's what Turkish press have been brainwashing their people about, and while Erdogan has been telling the world about the Turkish offensive towards the Islamic State, we've only actually seen actions against the Kurdish YPG, who've been the strongest force on the ground against the terror organizations, not at least Islamic State in Syria. Leaders and politicians around the world couldn't be quiet anymore. The Israel Defense Minister Moshe Yaalon would be the next person to criticize Turkey after Haider al-Abadi. He claims that ISIS has been enjoying Turkish money for oil for a very long period of time. Next out was the Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev, who said Turkey's actions are a de facto protection of the Islamic State. There is no doubt about that Erdogan used the war against ISIS as a rhetoric excuse to be able to attack YPG instead. And while Turkey kept on attacking YPG, the Kurdish force at several occasions tried to find peace with the neighboring Turkey. The only demand that the Kurds had was the immediate stop of support to the Islamic State. This publication from 2017 by Ahmed S. Yayla, PhD at George Mason University, is all about ISIS presence in Turkey. The link to this very good publication, alongside every other link to all articles in this video, will be provided in the description box below. Now, let's take a look at this video which shows how the Islamic State ideology is among the civilians in Turkey.
Yakaladığın yerde keseceksin yani. Onları. Bunlar ateistler. Allah'a inanmıyorlar. Yani inanmıyorlar, Allah kitabına inanmıyorlar yani.
Hayvan abi onlar, insan değil.
Nasıl ya? İnsan abi, bildiğimiz insan. Nasıl hayvan oluyor?
Öyle insan olmaz abi. Yani bizim gibi insanlar değil onlar.
Onlar hepsinin canı cehenneme.
Neden baba?
Öyle Allah'a inanmayan yani canı cehenneme.
Allah belalarını versin. Yakaladığım yerde tek tek onları şırıngayla kan alırım onlardan.
Nasıl şırıngayla kan alırsın yani?
Taktım mı arkadan çıkar.
Baba.
Ya bırak şimdi abi ateist işte. Allah peygambere inanmıyor işte.
Tamam inanmıyor ama bir şey anlatmaz mıyız ona yani? Anlatalım. Gidelim İslam'ı anlatalım ona.
Abi işte verelim, onlar da gırtlakla kessinler.
İşte
canlı canlı böyle.
Ama insan değil mi onlar?
İnsan değiller abi.
Onlar cahil insanlar.
Nasıl yani cahil?
Gavurlar. Yani ne bileyim mi baba, onlar dümenci insanlar, yalancı insanlar.
Nasıl ya?
Evet, ateist ne demek? Şerefsiz bir insandır, şimdi yalan söylemeyelim.
Neden şerefsiz ki?
Çünkü Allah'a inanmayan insan, insan değildir. Hayvandır, hayvan da olamaz zaten. Hayvan da Allah'a inanan bir insandır. Beyinleri yok yani.
Also, do not miss the Huffington Post article, who lists a lot of proofs of why Turkey and ISIS is close allies. Anyway, 17th of October, YPG liberated Raqqa from the Islamic State. Raqqa has been the ISIS capital city and their most symbolic and important city in Syria. Is it just a coincidence that the Turkish threat against Rojava escalated right after the liberation of Raqqa? Suddenly, Turkey started to act more and more, and now Erdogan claimed that YPG made a security threat to Turkey's national borders, even though the fact that YPG never had attacked or threatened Turkey. Turkey couldn't either send help to the city of Raqqa since the YPG was in the way. The only thing Turkey could do was to create a new capital city for the Islamic Turkish proxy armies. But to avoid more criticism from the world, Turkey allied themselves with the FSA, Free Syrian Army, and a few months later, Turkey started their operation against the Kurdish city of Afrin in northwestern Rojava. Hundreds of former ISIS members joined the FSA, who already had influences from Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra. Turkey's plan was to create this new capital city of Turkish proxies, still inside Syria but at the borders of Turkey, so that they always can send reinforcements there if they would need to. Afrin is simply the new Raqqa, as long as it is controlled by Turkish-backed forces. Turkey was, as mentioned, accused of recruiting ex-ISIS soldiers in their army to fight the YPG. Not long after this, Turkey detained several American and British citizens for fighting against ISIS. Here is another article from the ANF News, where a captured ISIS member exposes the relationship between ISIS and the Islamic State. Further down in this article, one can read that ISIS receives orders from Turkey. He says, "They opened the border, allowed our weapons and ammunition through, and facilitated our every need. After we crossed, we were told that we would fight against the Kurds from then on. When we acted in Turkey's name, we faced no obstacles. Nobody once asked us what we were doing or where we were going as we crossed the border time and again. On the contrary, the Turkish state supported us with all kinds of weapons and ammunitions and other resources. I saw with my own eyes how the Turkish state moved weapons into Girispi region." Here are some interviews with ISIS fighters about their relationship with Turkey.
نسيت خرافة ده سنجار؟
ايه
وكان حتى البنات من هناك؟
والله الشيوخ هم احنا عناصر والشيوخ هم ياخذوا البنات يعني سبايا يعني واحنا عناصر عند الشيوخ.
أظن قتلت ناس؟
نعم.
كم ناس قتلت؟
9.
مع السكين مع السلاح؟
في هيك وفيك، يعني عندك قصاص وفي إعدام ميداني.
ليش قتلت هؤلاء الناس؟
لأنه كانوا ضدنا، كانوا يقاتلون ضدنا.
قتلت 17 واحد. بالسيف.
بالسيف. 17.
ايه 10 بالعراق و7 بجدة.
من أي مكان؟
يعني قبل ما نمسك بشغلة 10 أيام.
شو هذا أكراد وهذا عرب وهذا مسيحي؟
كراد مسيحية كله، هذا شوف قدام مقدار اسمه مكبر عليه هذا كافر مو مسلم، مسيحي يهودي كله كافر تكبير والله
بدون ما اقول له انت تسلم ولا شيء
بنوبة واحدة. اجينا الى هنا احنا والشيوخ قالوا هذه المنطقة هذه منطقة الكراد، من هنا هاي كلها تكفيرية، والمنطقة هذيك كلها دولة إسلامية يعني أرض مقدسة. يجينا إلى هنا قالوا في شيخ كافر مو مسلم، واحد سعودي واحد تونسي، وركبنا السيارة ويجينا إلى هنا. قرية اسمها عدنان بالمنطقة هنا بسوريا يعني مناطق هنا. يجينا لعند الجامع، جينا على الطريق كنا واحد مطلوب وأخذنا 3. والله أول واحد قصينا راسه، ثاني واحد قال يا شيخ أنا مسلم وأنا أصلي وأنا أصوم وأنا يعني هذيك الساعة التونسي كانوا يقولوا هذول كفروا مو إسلام، وقت شفناه يصلي ويصوم دشرناه يعني كانوا يعطونا الصورة غلط يعني الشيوخ، دشرناه مثلا قتلنا واحد هيك حرام ضرب. كانوا يشربوا حبوب ويدخلوا على المعارك.
انتوا كنتوا تاخذوا حبوب؟
كنا ناخذ حبوب يعني.
اي شيوخكم كانوا يعطوكم حبوب؟
ايه كانوا يعطونا حبوب، قالوا مشان ما تخافوا.
مشان ما تخافوا؟
ايه قال انت عارف انت تسكر مخك، قال له وقت تشرب حبه كبتيكول او زلام تفوت على المعركه ما تحس يعني ما تحس يعني.
مصاري وفلوس
كانوا يعطونا ايه مصاري يعني، كانوا غالينا بالمصاري وسلاح وسيارات وشو ما بدكم نجيب لكم.
من وين الفلوس من داعش؟
من السعوديه ومن تركيا كان يجينا من داعش.
وكل السلاح وكل
كله يجي من الخارج يجينا دعم سلاح وفلوس كل شيء يعني.
تحبون السعوديه؟
والله نحبهم، ليش ما نحبهم؟
تركيا
نحب تركيا، ليش ما نحبهم؟
تحبون الحكومه التركيه؟
ما يلزم يبعثون دكاتره كل شيء.
وين البنات الكيف؟
ناس بالأول بالشدادي وناس بالموصل كانوا ممكن هنيك كانوا بالموصل وخذوا الناس على الشدادي وعلى الرقة.
كم بنات؟
والله يعني ما يعني نعدوا كثار.
قولي حاجة، إذا كان في واحد يقحط أمك ويقحط أختك ويعمل الحاجة أنت عملت اليزيدية، شو تتفكر؟ بدك هذا بيساوي معه؟
قالوا هذول كفرة مو إسلام يعني، هيك كانت يعطونا نظر الشيوخ عنهم السعوديين والتونسيين.
هذا كله من جانب السعوديين، وعندك ما عندك طموح؟
كانوا يعني يحكوا معك أنت مخ يعني هيك يقعدوا معك ساعة ساعتين ذا ويقنعوك ويقول لك امشي على المعركة، يعني تكون أنت بالمعركة شغل تقول هذول إسلام يقول لا هذول كفرة بدك تقاتل.
مع داعش؟
كان أخوي مع داعش. هلا استشهد بالمعركة، كنا أنا وياه واللي جابك أسرتنا هو استشهد بالمعركة.
ولا عمك
تقول شهيد ولا شنو؟ شهيد.
ليش؟
شهيد عم قاتل كفار يذكر.
انت مقتنع بالسبب؟ انت مقتنع انه انت كان راح تستشهد؟
يعني كان نظرة انا قلت لك يعني ان هذا دين يعني. اليوم يعني كان يجينا محصول يمكن 1000 من الدول الغربية من دول العالم كلها يعني بشكل يوم يجوا.
من أي منطقة؟
من تونس والجزائر وليبيا ومن السعودية والكويت ومصر والدول الغربية، عارفة ألمانيا مشكلة يعني كل الدول الأجنبية كل فصيل لحاله يعني، كل دولة تجي تعرف أنت ما يختلطون بالشباب الثاني عم يقاتلوا كفروا ونسمع هيك كفروا وندخل معهم المعركة.
مسيرة الصفوف اللي كنا منخرطين فيها انه كله ضد الغرب والدول الأوروبية، يعني جهاز قمعي انه ما يضل احد، لازم ينبسط الاسلام على وجه الكرة الأرضية كاملة، ضد المسيحي وضد اليهودي وضد اي كان ضد الاسلام، بالذات دول الغرب والدول الأوروبية.
كم مرتزقة في هناك بالموصل؟
كثير، كل واحد يقاتل بصف لحاله، فما تقدر تسأل انه هذا من وين وهذا من وين، بس فيه. في يجي دكاترة، في أطباء يجون يعني اختصاصيين، في اقتحاميين، في قناصين.
لا التراك كانوا معنا يقاتلوا. في جيش تركي كمان مخابرات كانوا يقاتلوا معنا شباب تراك، بس انهم مخابرات من مخابرات كانوا قادات على مستوى قاتلوا شرس. كنا ندخل معهم المعارك.
So now, let's go through what's been going on in the recent days. As Turkey started their operation to destroy Rojava in October 2019, we've seen more and more proof of the relation between Turkey and ISIS. For example, just 2 days after the start of the Turkish operation, we suddenly got a car explosion in Kamishli, which is kind of rare since the area under YPG has been relatively safe. Media soon reported that several people died of the explosion and another bunch of people was under medical care in hospital, and the interesting thing here is that ISIS took responsibility of the bombings only a few hours later. So how did ISIS out of nowhere suddenly attack the Kurds exactly the same time as Turkey started their offensive? Is it just a coincidence? A few days later, Mustafa Bali, head of SDF press office, tweeted this: "The Al-Chirkin prison hosting Daesh prisoners was shelled by Turkish armies, the place where the most dangerous jihadists are held in." Could this really be true? Mustafa Bali claimed that Turkish forces in their offensive were targeting Kurdish-controlled prisons where thousands of ISIS captives were being held. In October 13, 2019, reports of as much as 785 persons affiliated with the Islamic State had managed to escape a camp where they were being held by the YPG after shellings from the Turkish army. This is claimed by several sources. Let's take a look at the two videos which spread from that time. Benjamin Hall, journalist at Fox News, tweeted this: "US officials tell Fox News that Turkish artillery units are intentionally shelling Kurdish-run prisons in Syria, allowing ISIS fighters to escape. Any indication Kurdish forces have releasing them is Turkish propaganda." We should all remember that Erdogan controls 95% of Turkish media, and almost all media in Turkey that writes about this conflict is ruled under clear propaganda for Erdogan and AKP's sake. Take a look at these clips.
Have taken the brunt of this terror as much as the YPG, which is equivalent to the PKK, which is a terrorist organization, as recognized by the United States and the European Union, is attacking our civilians every day. We have taken the brunt of this terror as much as we can, and we have been willing to work with our allies in trying to eliminate this very serious security threat on our border, but it has not worked. So at the end, we have had to take matters into our own hands under Article 51, which is our right of national self-defense.
The problem is, you know, you call them terrorists. Other people say you are releasing terrorists into that corridor because ISIS fighters are being released. You have facilitated terrorism in
Where
Syria
are you
for
getting
years
your
and years because you have
information
worked
from?
with these groups.
But
You have
this is
allowed them
all-
to go
this is
through your
all
border
lies.
and bring
This is
weapons
terrible
and
lies.
resources.
You cannot say
So,
that.
Well,
No.
Now, there are as many
listen.
allegations
No, you
against
have to
you
listen to
as
me.
there are on the other side. Well,
No,
yeah, you also have to
no.
listen to my question. So what I'm saying
But
is,
no,
if you're
because
releasing
you said
ISIS
that
fighters
we are
into that
unleashing
area,
ISIS
what are you
fighters, and that
achieving?
is a lie. We are the one country that has suffered more from ISIS terrorism than any other country. We are the one country that has actually cleared ISIS terrorism from North Syria more than any other country single-handedly in the coalition. We cleared 2,000 square kilometers of area in North Syria from ISIS. We have suffered more ISIS attacks than any other country in the coalition.
Yeah,
now,
but
it's
you've played it
very
both ways.
unfair
That's the truth.
for you to actually parade this kind of lies that we're bringing in ISIS fighters. This is absolutely shameful. You cannot fight one terror group by arming another terror group. It was bound to hit a wall, this policy of the United States, which started in the previous administration. And right now, what's happening in America is our national security is becoming political fodder for the political situation there. As for the Europeans, for years, they've actually been just been more sympathetic to this terrorist organization without looking at the facts.
Erdogan also has many agents and journalists abroad who is doing everything they can to spread Turkish propaganda in the West world.
Ska vi se här. Orhan Karam, du är journalist på den turkiska nyhetsbyrån AA. Och jag vet att du har sagt att du vill inte debattera här ikväll, men du vill förklara hur du menar varför Erdogan gör det här, den här offensiven i Syrien.
Jo, för att han vill skapa en säkerhetszon för alla som boende, syriska folket, irakiska och assyriska folket, turkmeniska folket, för att skapa en säker plats för att de ska inte bli drabbats av kriget. Och Turkiet har kostat på hittills 40 miljarder dollar och de vill bygga sjukhus, skolor och allt annat för att de ska bo ett bra sätt. Och där de har bott och med sina kultur.
Ja, samtidigt så, du ser ju hur internationellt så fördöms ju det här på väldigt många håll. Du har också det i studion här. Vad säger du då om reaktionerna?
Jo, jag har lite svårt att förstå de reaktionerna för att enligt min uppfattning omvärlden borde samarbeta med Turkiet för att skapa ett bra läge och lösa problemet i platsen, nämligen i Syrien de har bott. Annars de kommer fly i resten av världen och det kommer bli problem om världen eller själva de som boende. Därför man måste lösa problemet där problemet har börjat, och idag jag hörde att USA och Turkiet har kommit överens och 5 dagars vapenvila löst ut, och det kommer bli en gott avslut, önskar jag.
Okay.
When Kurdish forces came along with Syria and Russia, allying themselves against Syria, Islamic State widows from the Kurdish-ruled camp started to talk with Swedish press again. In a text, it was revealed that one of the widows said, "Bashar al-Assad has come into Hasaka province where we are. He will make it before Erdogan, who still is 300 kilometers away." Out of everybody in this conflict, why would an ISIS widow suggest that there is any difference between Erdogan and Assad? Could it be the fact that they feel safe in the control of Erdogan? The same day, an announcement from Swedish intelligence service said that the release of hundreds of ISIS soldiers will risk future terrorist attacks on European soil. Don't forget that every link is available in the description box below. That's it for this updated video. Let us know your opinion in the comment section below and link every sources and proofs that we've missed so that it can be even more clear to everybody what's going on and how dangerous Turkey is right now.